If you let somebody talk you out of a place that God has put you in, you are going to find yourself in hell. For everyone who is a critic, I have thousands of used to be emails from people saying, this changed my life. Oh my God, you know me. A large portion of my fans who are disenfranchised, who cannot get in the Volvo and go to therapy on the weekend. So you've got this highbrow Negro who is all up in the air with his nose up looking at everything. And then you got people like where I come from and me who are grinders, who really know what it's like. Don't discount these people and say that their story don't matter. Who are you to be able to say which black story is important or should be told? Get out here with that bullshit.
Honestly, overall, this was a great interview. Like, shout out to Keke Palmer because she's a great interviewer. I do think that she lays it on a bit thick, with, fluffing up her guests and flattering them, but she does it in a way to get them to say the things that she knows people want to ask, people want to hear. Getting him to talk about the criticisms and stuff like that. She did it by flattery. So I thought that was some skill level, some very good interviewing skills. Overall, the interview was actually really good. Like, he had a lot of good gems for people, for filmmakers, or like even stuff that I feel like anyone who's like starting a business could take and use for the future. Some of the really good things that he was saying in this interview was talking about the importance of ownership, and I am gonna keep driving that in till the cows come home. I can only really speak about like my industry, like in film, but I know that this affects people in music, writing. One thing that he really said that stuck out to me was about how when he was making his movies and stuff on his own and then he was selling it.
I read that you had a deal that they would co-produce and distribute the films, but you would retain all copyright ownership. How did you know to do that? And how hard did you have to fight for it?
It wasn't a fight for me because that was a non-negotiable. I was not going to negotiate with anybody about that. And because I had that audience that had been with me, who had made me pretty wealthy going into Hollywood, I didn't need them. To give up ownership is a non-negotiable because what happens is I know what that does for your future and for your power. And for what, it's the difference in waiting for somebody to give you a job or knowing that a check is going to be in the mailbox whether you have a job or not.
It wasn't a fight for me. It was a non-negotiable. Like, this is what it is. This is how it's going to be. When you have already built an audience, when you've already built your brand, like you see these influencers that, maybe have started on Vine and now they've built this whole following, like King Batch or whatever, and now he owns the Zeus Network, or he's one of the owners of Zeus Network. Once you build that core organic audience, that is how you end up getting that power to like retain your own IP and whatnot. I thought that was really brilliant. Now the whole having to put his name on it before everything, personally, I do think it's kind of tacky. I see what he's trying to do. The work should speak for itself rather than like the auteur behind the work. Does that make sense? Oh, Jurassic Park. We know that's Steven Spielberg because it speaks for itself. Jaws, we know it's Steven Spielberg. He didn't have to put Steven Spielberg's E.T., Steven Spielberg's Jaws, especially like Tyler Perry's work is so Tyler Perry. He doesn't even really have to do that at this point. Another one of the things he said in an interview was that, the importance of realizing that you're worthy of more. And I feel like a lot of us, especially a lot of us black people, trying to make it in this Hollywood entertainment industry that is not predominated by us, that it's sometimes hard to realize you deserve more, and that, to stop at some point, you have to stop taking less. You have to stop taking the low-paying jobs. I think that's really important. I've definitely gone through that in my career. I was just talking this morning with my cousin about a concept called the concrete ceiling. First of all, I just learned about the glass cliff yesterday. The glass cliff is a phenomenon where women are more likely to be promoted to leadership roles during times of crisis or poor performance, when the risk of failure is the highest. It's like, all right, let's give a woman a chance. But like, you give a woman a chance when things have completely already gone to shit and her chance of failure is really high. The chance of anyone's failure, man or woman, is really high, but you put a woman in that position because you think, oh, whatever, let me just throw something at the wall and hope that it'll stick. And the conversation came up because of the whole Kamala Harris thing, because our country is you know, and is already in the shitter. And so it's like they're putting her up there to fail or to take the fall. After I talked to her about that, then she told me about the concrete ceiling. So the concrete ceiling is a term used to describe the barriers that women of color face in their careers, particularly in their ability to advance into management positions. The term is similar to the glass ceiling, but is considered to be denser and more difficult to break through. As a woman in the film production industry and a non-white woman, it's so hard to be nominated. It's so hard to be picked because this industry is about being picked. Like, you have to be picked, you have to be chosen, you have to be nominated by somebody. And it's really hard to be picked because people pick their friends. And if you don't have a white person who wants to be your friend, I'm saying it bluntly like that, but it's the truth. Like, if you don't have a white person who wants to get to know you and nominate you and be your friend, then it's going to be really hard for you to move ahead. Even if you're trying to be cool and friendly and like, hey, and like, you know, let's exchange numbers, let's get coffee sometime. If they don't ever meet you, if they don't ever have time to meet you for the coffee, you're not going to get ahead in your career. Tyler Perry talking about that, I thought was like really good. You got to just make your own shit, man. Like, you got to just promote yourself. Especially, it's great time right now. We have our own tools. We have YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, whatever, that you can build that fan base. And honestly, one of the most powerful things that he said in this interview was that as Black people, our ancestors paid for everything that we have. I was like,
So we can get to a place where I can have more than enough. I deserve more than enough. Our ancestors already paid for everything we have, and we're not taking advantage of it. And there's nothing more frustrating.
And like I said, it goes up to Keke Palmer because she was able to ask these questions to get this out of him. But I thought that was so poignant and so powerful. He needs to like put that on a t-shirt or something. Our ancestors paid for everything, and it is ours. We deserve more. I was just thinking about this the other day. Any of us that are descendants of Black people who endured the Atlantic slave trade, okay, my family's from the Caribbean, so my mother's side and my father's side, I am a descendant of slaves. Our African ancestors were literally the strongest people of everyone who was captured from Africa and brought to the Americas. They survived captivity in Africa, where they're forced to stand in their own feces, where they are in rooms with 300 people in a freaking 12 by 12 room, hot, hard to breathe, you know, being in touch with new populations, with white people, bringing them diseases. They survived that to get to the boat, to survive that journey to America, to the Caribbean, to South America. They survived that. And then survived slavery. We are literally descendants from that. Like, I'm at a loss for words. Like, it was such a powerful thing because I was thinking about how we are literally descendants of like the strongest, most endurance, most fighting, like everything. Ownership is not negotiable. I'm so serious. The interview was really good, and there's a lot of stuff that I'm gonna take from it. That's why it's like really sad. I feel like with the whole Tyler Perry thing, it's like, we know your story, man. Like, we know what you went through. Everyone loves a rags to riches story. He was living in his car. He came from a troubled home. He did this, and then he made his play, and like, everybody loves that. And it's just like, it's almost like he's squandering it because of his ego. And it's just like, when you can see that, it's hard to watch. He started talking about his history and how he came up and with the plays and all this stuff. And it really did remind me, like, oh yeah, like, you know, I definitely remember, you know, visiting my cousin's house in Brooklyn, and it'd be like, oh, my uncle would bring in all these bootleg ass DVDs, like, oh, look, you know, the new Tyler Perry is out, and people have been, you know, dragging you, have been like telling you, like, dude, this is not right. I mean, a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes, that's really horrible. That's not just people hating on you. That's people telling you, like, this is just, like, not acceptable. Like, I understand you have your fans, But it's like there's other people who were your fans and now they're like not fans anymore. Like in my last video when I made my review of Divorce in the Black, there were people in the comments saying like I can't do it anymore. Like I can't watch any more of his movies. Clearly something over time was lost. And so that goes to the main point of like Negroes with their nose in the air, which honestly came off very uppity Negroes coded. He didn't call his black critics uppity Negroes, but he said these Negroes with their nose all up here, all up in the air, the highbrow, which I thought was so like, ew, like why would the fuck would you say some shit like that? That was literally the type of terminology that white people used to use against black people when they thought that black people thought that they were just as good as a white person. Why the fuck would you say that? I started to actually think that he was doing it on purpose. Because I was like, he's got to be doing this on purpose. Like for him, he must see it as all press is good press. You know, bad publicity is still publicity. He's pretending like he doesn't know what people are saying. He's intentionally misconstruing people's criticism. Oh, you highbrow Negroes up here, you're looking down on people. How dare you look down on people? How dare you tell these black people that their story shouldn't be told? What are you talking about? No one has said that. And I know for my interview, I said, you know, the Bertrand family was interesting. Yeah, let's hear about the trashy terrorizing their community, backyard, swamp living, trailer park brothers. Yeah, that's interesting. Let's hear about that. There's absolutely people like Dallas, Corey Hardrick character, who stalk their wives, that absolutely exists. I just made a whole ass video, 10 movies about being stalked by an ex, because I actually love this genre of film. If you haven't seen that video, go check it out and learn about some new movies that do the stalked by an ex genre justice. I saw someone saying that one of the first movies I listed in that video was Sleeping with the Enemy, and that Divorce in the Black was trying to be like Sleeping with the Enemy. Nobody is saying that this doesn't happen. Nobody is saying that you shouldn't tell this story, but just do it properly. Make sure the characters have depth. Make sure they have reasons and motivations for why they behave the way they behave. Don't just give us a black woman that's just like, she's just fucking pummeled to dust throughout her whole life, throughout the whole movie. Are we gonna really remember the character of Dallas? Or are we just gonna remember Corey Hardrick playing this crazy ass guy that was basically like Ike Turner from, you know, What's Love Got to Do with It? What I realized from this is Tyler Perry's new method, which I think is his new scheme. His new method is he's going to get these well-known, beloved actors, like I said, like Kelly Rowland, Megan Good, Trevante. He's going to get them to be in his films. He's going to pay them what they're worth, and then he's just going to do whatever the fuck, because he has a power over them. When you're offering someone like money, like good money, like let's say Megan Good might get offered $500,000 for a role in a quote unquote white movie, like a mainstream white movie, right? And then she goes to Tyler Perry and she asks him for $5 million, and he says, yeah. Then she's gonna just do whatever, you know, she's gonna do whatever he says. And if he pays these people what they want, then they're just gonna do the role no matter what. And they're just gonna be, you know, they're not gonna fight back. They're not gonna say, hey, you know, this in the script is not making sense. This is not really like, when you're an actor like on a certain level like Leonardo DiCaprio or Denzel Washington, they're gonna be like, no, this doesn't make sense. Like, he should do this. And he, you know, they have that ability to be able to talk that. And so I remember I saw in an interview that, you know, that was one of the big things, was that Tyler Perry was paying people what they're worth. And everyone loves to hear that. And she didn't even know what to ask. And she asked her boyfriend, Jonathan Majors, about what she should ask for. And he made a suggestion. And it ended up going through. And Tyler Perry did it. But I have a question. Could you ever see Jonathan Majors in a Tyler Perry movie? Jonathan Majors wouldn't be caught dead in a Tyler Perry movie, okay? And that's because Jonathan Majors is an actor, okay? An auteur, an artiste, Okay, that's not to say that certain other actors are. Jonathan Majors is making choices in order to have that career at that level. Okay, yes, he did a Marvel movie, which is not like a Tyler Perry movie, but it is not an artistically driven movie, but it's a movie that would give you basically generational wealth, your children and your children's children. So it's a necessary evil that someone like Jonathan Majors has to do. I feel like he would never do a movie like a Tyler Perry movie because it's gonna make you look a certain way. It's gonna mess up your reputation, which I do believe it does mess up the reputations of actors who star in there. You can pay Megan Good and Corey what they're worth or whatever they want, because he needs their clout, he needs their stamp of approval by who they are. And then with the rest of the cast and crew, boom, we filming this movie in a week, done. Like, I'm not spending no $20 million to film no damn movie. We gonna film this movie for $500,000. We filming this movie for $500,000, $1 million. That's it. I was starting to think, oh, maybe he's just like an evil genius. He's smarter than everybody. Like, he's totally doing this on purpose, because for him, eyeballs are eyeballs, whether they're hate watching or not. And Amazon, Netflix, all these people see the eyeballs, and they're going to pay top dollar for the eyeballs, and that's all he really cares about. But I'm starting to think it's really his ego. It's really his ego, because one point in the interview, Keke asked him about, at what point do you realize that you need to kind of let go of control, let go of the reins, let somebody else step in, give somebody else a shot. And he was like, oh, I learned how to do that. Like, I know when it's time to let go.
I've trained enough young directors to be able to understand how to edit and shoot, so they're able to do a huge page count like I can. I've trained them how to watch for waste and time. So now I'm at a place in my life where I'm going, okay, I got it. I've set that up. They're doing great. I can let them take it. I'm completely fine with stepping back.
I get it. Of course. Who wants to waste money? Who wants to spend money? But if that means sacrificing a performance, sacrificing quality, sacrificing your actors to look good, look professional, have good hair, have good makeup, your crew to not be overworked, to be able to rest and all this stuff, it's a problem. I'm not going over it again. I talked about it in my Tyler Perry shooting schedule is insane video. Not too long ago, I worked for an HIV prevention and awareness campaign. It's like, once you start to see how people treat people with HIV, you can't unsee it. It reminded me of Tyler Perry's movie, where the main character, she cheats on her husband, he's just a goober, he's just such a good guy, and he's just so boring, and she just needs excitement, and she's with the scary, rich, wealthy guy, a sexual deviant, and he takes her out of her godly life. She ends up catching HIV. In the end of the movie, they show her, and she, this young, bright, vibrant woman has turned into this shriveled, old, decrepit, looks like 20 years older than she actually is, dresses like a grandma, walks with a limp, she's single, she has no love. I'm just like, why would you depict people living with HIV like that? Especially when it's not true. I'm telling you, I've met a lot of people who live with HIV. You would never fucking know. It doesn't have a look to it. The fact that someone like him, who lives and works in Atlanta, which is one of the cities with the highest HIV rate in the entire country, why would you depict somebody living with HIV like that at your big ass age? I'm sure he knows somebody with HIV. Whatever he wants to do is what he wants to do, and he owns it. So, it doesn't matter. I own it. What I say goes. He's like, well, these people still love me. These followers still love me. They love my stuff. And that's all that matters to me. I don't know if that's all that matters to him, because in the end of the interview, he talks about how he has a movie coming out called 6888 or something like that. And he said he's going to shut them all up with 6888. And he said that movie is to date his, I guess, proudest accomplishment. Looking forward to watching 6888, Mr. Perry. That should be fun. And you guys know I will definitely be reviewing it, because I am a part of the problem. Anything that he puts out, I'm going to watch it. I'm going to watch it. I was thinking, is it hate watching at this point? I also like bad movies. There's that too. I do enjoy a good, horrible movie. So I'm looking forward to watching that. I feel like I'm waiting for him to like turn it around. If he doesn't want to give someone else the reins to write and direct and produce, fine. This is the screenwriting Bible, okay? When you go into school for film school, Tyler Perry could hire Sid Field 2 months weekly how to properly get his scripts together. Telling a story is like building a house. You have to build it brick by brick. Like, this shit is not easy, man. And we've all watched bad movies and read bad books. And just from that, you should know that it's not easy. So I'm not saying that it's something that's easy. And I'm also still learning too, but it's like him trying to gaslight us that saying that because we're criticizing, because we want to see better for not only him, but for black actors.
So you've got this highbrow Negro who is all up in the air with his nose up looking at everything. And then you got people like where I come from.
Is that what we're doing? Like, I couldn't imagine being like that, like having millions of people tell me that my work is horrible. You guys don't know what you're talking about. You're just stuck up and you think you're better. He didn't use the words uppity Negro. He did not use those words. But these Negroes with their nose up here, all up here, what is that? If you want to speak up for the little guy, tell their stories properly. And it just really makes me feel like he's just out of touch completely. Making a story of a woman who's chasing a psycho, her psycho ex-husband, who she's been with for 20 years. She's chasing him no matter what, no matter what he says, no matter what he does. And everyone's calling her stupid. She's a dummy. She's dumb. Why the fuck is she doing that? My abusive ex, which I made a small documentary about it on this channel. You can check it out. It's called Dusty King. I gave context. You know, I grew up having low self-esteem. You know, I felt unattractive. You know, I was in New York dating and like guys were just jumping from girl to girl. Like, no one ever wanted to be in anything serious. He's the first person that wanted to be serious. He was really physical. I never had a guy that was all up on me. Like, you know, the history, the past. That could have been me in that story. And I would have been like, I'm like, damn, you made me look so stupid. Like, you gotta at least tell them like how I got there. Like, you know, talk about my childhood a little bit or something. Like, I don't think he's doing it for attention. I don't think he's doing it on purpose. I think he's doing it because his ego is so impenetrable. Anyway, guys, make sure you go check out Keke Palmer's interview and give it a like and you know, support her, because she's another person who's also trying to start her own thing, build her own audience. And despite, you know, the gaslighting and the whole nose up in the air Negroes, highbrow Negroes comment, it was a good interview and I think it was worth watching. I do paint on my eyebrows to go up higher than what they naturally do, but I never considered myself a highbrow person. Like I said, I actually like bad movies. I enjoy them. Like, if you watch my Stalked by an Ex, those are all like B and C level movies. Anyway, thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure you leave a comment and let me know what you thought about my comments in the video. And share. Always share. Make sure you share this. Sharing is caring. And subscribe. And yeah, I'll catch up with you guys in the next one.